Good afternoon and welcome to the channel. It's been a long time and Happy New Year. So, order of business today is to dry fit this rear tub. Now, we've sort of got it in place and it's sitting pretty well, but we did notice that there's a tab that we forgot to whack on the chassis that belongs back under there. And we just want to, before we paint it and scratch it up, we just want to actually bolt it to the frame, make sure our door distances are correct, so that we're not mucking around with a nice freshly painted tub and scratching it to the shizen. So we're just doing it beforehand, just making sure everything fits so that once it's painted it just goes on and bang, we're done. So we'll touch base again once we get a few bolts in and see how far we are actually out. So the first thing we've discovered is that this particular tab here is too far to the front of the car and it's not allowing the tub to seat back into these tabs here. And from what we've read, these are non-negotiable. No spaces at all on any of these tabs. So the tub has to start back here. It's okay to space these two if there's a bit of a gap, but you can't space these two. So first order of business is, we've covered up all the pretty stuff. We're just going to cut that off now and put the tub back on, and yeah, just see how that sort of affects things and whether we can square it up to the bulkhead. Basically, we're just learning and trying our best to get this right. We also have a couple of tabs that belong on this beam here, which we forgot about. We knew that before today, so that'll happen at some stage today as well. Adolfo's also had a few deliveries as well, so while the tub's off, we're going to whack the mud guards on. So that's what they look like. Yeah, but let me cut this thing off and we'll see what we end up with. Alright, so we've got all of them in. Now what we're doing is we're whacking in these two support thingies, I suppose you call them, on each side, and then all we have to worry about is the tilt of the actual tub, and then making sure that it's square to the bulkhead and the doors are going to fit essentially.
They're called sills.
Sills, there you go, sills. Big brain over here. And by rights, unless I have messed this up quite badly, this should work out really well. We'll get back to you. So theory is we're going to whack our string line in the corner of that seam, run it all the way along to there, and by rights, if we lift that up so that everything's in line, hopefully everything comes out square. So, believe it or not, we haven't effed this up. It's absolutely unbelievable. So we've got the string line running all the way along that seam, perfectly there. We've measured across the bottom here. We've got the required 34.5 inches. Up the top, we've got about 34.25. However, there is some adjustment that way that's available in the bulkhead, which is apparently the way that you do it, which is just fantastic. And if we look down the sight lines, it's not going to focus for me, but that lines up beautifully with the bulkhead. Same as this side. We went and grabbed one of the doors just to see if they, fit up nicely. And yeah, except for that side, obviously, because there's, that quarter of a inch that needs to find, but here it's just worked out perfectly with absolutely no mucking around at all. Adolfo's just checking it with a string line as well. We haven't actually put a string line on this side. Let me just grab that and duck it down there.
Oh. Yeah, good enough. Up a smidge.
Look, we're not looking for perfection right now. We just wanted the confidence before we painted this thing to make sure that when the time comes, once this tub is painted, that we're going to find no dramas. So obviously there's a couple of things. The little tab behind there, we've got a bolt in it. I'm just going to tack that in situ and then weld that up properly.
Now, do you think we're going to put those things on, Phil? What do you reckon? The centre ones?
Oh yeah, and the centre tabs as well, which we've got to look at right now.
Do you think that we've got to do them, yeah?
I feel like we do.
On the Series 2 they never had them, but the Series 3 had them. I think we should put them on.
Well, mate, we have the technology. We'll definitely do it. So I don't remember what was in the last video, or whether or not this was actually part of the paint process that we showed, but I know that we certainly hadn't put all the hardware on. So we've just we've thrown the seat box in just to have a quick look to make sure that everything's going to fit nicely, which it is. But I'll tell you what, she's not far away from being a car.
This has to go in here as well. That's the wrong side.
Yeah. We're just playing at the moment. We're just playing. But it's encouraging. Everything is fitting nicely. Everything's fitting real well. Adolfo's just swearing a lot with his mud guards, which is quite amusing. And I've just completed re-welding that one in the correct position. It's a little bit off from that one. It doesn't really matter. They're the holes that were in the bulkhead, so we decided to just shift it over. It's going to work as designed. Those two tabs are in as well, which act as like a support for the tub and also form part of the fixing points for the seat belts. So now we understand why they weren't on the Series 2, because there was no seatbelts on the Series 2, therefore they didn't have them. So they're ready to go. They're all marked up nicely. Just need a little bit of a paint, and she'll be right. So now we'll go back in time a bit, and we'll have a look at Adolfo doing these vents, which I forgot to include in the last video, and possibly me mucking around with the rear door again.
Now, I am determined to take my time with this, and for that reason, I'm going to use a very small paintbrush to paint the contact adhesive on. I wanted to get the high strength automotive one, but I couldn't find it. I'm just using this one. You know, some people just use normal stuff. This is pretty much the step above normal stuff. We'll see how we go with it. We'll paint it on and see what happens. So we'll paint it on here first. We'll paint it on the car. We'll let it sit for 20 minutes as per the instructions say. And we'll try and finish that one off. Then I'll do the other one off camera. I'll only do one on camera. All right, let's give it a go. Oh yeah, she smells like it. I don't get this stuff. Anyway, let's paint it on, eh? Painting it on. I tried that Gorilla Grip stuff. That was rubbish. That was shit. But anyway, let's just take our time. We could use a bigger brush and get it done quicker, but I want to get this on. I only want to do this once, not twice. Hopefully I've done the right side. I think I have. The stuff I used for the dashboard was really good, but you can't get that in a brush-on application. It only comes in a spray. I would have loved to have used that, but I'm not going to spray that. It'll end up That stuff will end up everywhere if I spray it on the car. Stuff's here quite thick, I found. Anyway, let's stick it on, paint it on, take our time, see what we got in the finish. It'll take me 20 minutes to stick this shit on, I think. When you're doing up a car, you'll find this is the stuff that takes the time. All these little jobs, lots of little jobs to do. Smells like contact, like I'm getting a bit of a buzz off it. So there we go, it's the outside done. Make sure we do all the edges. Might stick in the groove. We don't have to do the inside, I think. Yeah, no, there's no point doing that. But yeah, as I said, I could get a massive brush and do it, but I'm sure I would get shit everywhere. Funny how products throughout the years change. This stuff here doesn't even, smells like contact, certainly doesn't look like it. I did have an old tub of contact up there from the 80s, but I don't want to risk it. I think it was a bit old. Okay. So that's the first seal done. It's been about 20 minutes. It's dry, both sides. And we'll see how we go with it. All right, we'll start this end. I'm going to tuck it under here first. It goes in there. Yeah. There is no chance in hell this is going to work. Well, look, it's sticking nicely. Oops. It's like a little lip in here. I'll bring it in later. And I reckon you've got to clip it over in. Really push it in. Really push it in. Jeez. She grabs. Just go a little bit at a time. Make sure that you get that in as much as possible. Oh, look. Okay. So far it's working. Might try this. I might do this corner first. That's going to be, the hinges are bad. The hinges are really hard to get in. But anyway, get it up in there. Ooh, get in there. Yes, that's what I was hoping. There's no way this is going to close anyway. I can see myself heating this up and ripping it off, I think. Anyway. That's done. That's done. I can already tell that's way too tight in here. Anyway, try push it down. I don't know why they changed the system. Probably because it leaked. But I mean, part of the charm of the car that they leak. Okay. If these hinges were out a bit, I'd be a bit more confident, but I am going to be brutally honest with you. This is going to be a disaster, but they are stuck in. Let's get our flap. All right, I'm going to grease the pins with a bit of this silicone grease before I put them in. Just a little bit. This stuff here you won't leak all over the paint. It's neutral. It's good stuff. Hard to get, but it is great stuff if you can get it. Sticks really well and doesn't stain anything or... Right. Flappage. Here we go. Flap on, I can already tell. Let's be able to get this pin in. Okay, that's in. Well, we've got the vents in. I'm just going to give them a polish now. I've promised myself not to open them because they do work better. We'll let those seals set. Driver's side turned out way better than that side. Not sure why, but they're in. They're hammered home. I won't split them open until we drive the car. They're not going to come out anyway. Trust me, they're that tight. These rubbers, they're not that good, honestly. They're good. Look, it's not going to leak, but it's not that good. I'm going to clean up the excess later here. I'll give this a polish now, but they're in. They're certainly not going to rattle, that's for sure.
So you might remember we actually fixed up the original tailgate that came off the vehicle, but we've been lucky enough to get our hands on a original barn door style door, and we're actually going to go with that. The tailgate will get used on probably another project, hopefully, but we do plan to put back seats in the rig, so this is just going to be a little bit more user friendly. But we've got some repairs to make as always. So back in its past life, somebody has bolted something here. Maybe it was like a jerry can holder or something like that, but they've drilled through the original hole instead of using what I'm assuming is a provisions for... Anyway, I don't know. I've never understood what these are for, by the way, these holes, what they cover and all that stuff. So if you know, let me know. But we need to fix this up. What I won't be doing is welding those holes up, because this is a really, really nice and really, really flat panel. And if I start putting some heat into it, I will just ruin it. So we've got a couple of options. I could create my own jerry can holder to cover up all of that nonsense there. Or the other thing we're thinking about is to countersink some screws in there, maybe mill them down, and basically, because it'll actually help hold this panel down, make sure that they're lower than the actual panel, bog over and paint over. Jury's still out on that. I think that's what we'll end up doing, but we've got to just let that settle and decide how we're going to approach it. As far as damage on this side, it's just really good, really, really good. There's a couple of split aluminium parts here. I will basically just bog them up, hammer that back down and smooth that out, and that'll be perfect. And let me just turn it over and I'll show you the other side. So as you can see, there's a little bit of corrosion here. This bottom rail is gone, but I have refabricated one of these before. It's not a big deal. I'm just going to peel back the aluminium, cut this off here and here, recreate this piece, weld it in, and I should be able to do that without taking the whole skin off. Other than that, there's a couple of sections here, bit of cracks, bit of missing material. few areas where there's the usual rust that we see on these cars. But all in all, I think the structure of it is more than savable. I think this will be pretty much brand new once we're done with it. Anyway, let's get into it. So we've peeled all the aluminium back nicely. I managed not to tear it for once, which is a minor miracle. Now I've got to cut this thing out. So this one's pretty straightforward. 45-degree cut. If I've got to do some repairs on here later, fine, no problem. Cut here. I don't believe they're welded together down here. We'll find out. That's a more or less cut anyway. I'll have to cut this out first though. This is, as you can see, it's got a bit of a channel in there. That's where the, I don't know what you call it, little bar that stops you from opening the door up, or door holder. I don't know what they're called. But we'll cut that out. Looks like it's a couple of welds here and here. Take that out. If I've got to remake that, so be it. Might be able to reuse it. Don't know. This, I'll do the 45-degree cut so that I know what I have to make here, and then I'll repair this piece running along here as required to make it match up with a nice new bit I'm going to make over there. Let's see how we go. Right. New plan. I've had a crack at cutting that out. I still need to cut it out. However, I have had a closer look, and it looks like it's wedged between here and here. It's somehow attached to this unit here. And it's going to be nigh on impossible to get this out without damaging all of this stuff. And I'm always scared that as I'm cutting through, I'm going to punch through to the aluminium. It's not the end of the world, but like, can we just not do that, please? So, I've had a close look at this panel. These sections here are separate. I'm talking about the aluminium skin. If I peel back here, and a little bit here, I should be able to, in theory, just take the skin off without damaging it, and then we can put as much heat and have a look underneath and remove all the rust and make the actual structure of the door perfect. And then when we come back to put this skin on, I will have already plugged up these holes. We can do some seam sealer or something in between the aluminium and the actual steel frame to keep it all nice and taut and whatever. And then we can just bog up those ugly aluminium holes from the other side, and we're going to have a perfect panel again. I think it's the right way to go about it. I don't know. I might be about to make a massive mistake. Let's see what happens. I found that the trick here is to not try and bend it all off in one hit. Taking 2 or 3 passes stops you from tearing, tears in the aluminium. Well, that's the theory anyway. I'll report back in a minute. Peeled it all back. I haven't tried this yet. I only slightly peeled back this one. I don't feel like I need to peel it all the way back. Unless there's something that I'm not seeing, this should just pop out. I hope. Possibly. Nope. There's some pop rivets there. Give me 2 seconds. Alrighty. Take 2. Like a little overlap in there. Okay. Maybe I will need to bend this all the way out. Let's give that a go. Alright, so I've lifted these up a little bit as well. This is starting to get a little bit scary. Oh, we've got some movement. We have some movement. Okay, so how far is this stuck in and can I sneak it apart? What about this side? Yep. Okay. Okay. So if I maybe, just maybe, aha! Victory. And I didn't damage it. Let's take a closer look. So the problem I was having is, that's the thing that bends over. This tab here and this tab here is actually tucked underneath both of these sides. So while it was wrapped over here, I couldn't pull it this way. So I sort of cheated a little bit and moved them flat, and there was enough play in the actual panel then to just slip it out and off it came. And number one, it's going to be a heap easier to do it. Number two, as I suspected, there are welds on the underside of this, which is why I was having so much trouble. But how much better is it going to be rust treating and just making sure that this thing's 100%? I mean, for goodness sake, there's a bloody spider crap in here. And I think I said seam seal before. I mean like, you know, a panel glue, a panel fastener, you know, some legit stuff to actually stick this down. I think it'll actually be better than new once I'm done with this. Alrighty, let's get into it. So I'm either a genius or a complete idiot, and I've just ruined some skins on a door. But I don't think I have. I talked myself into it. I've removed all of the aluminium. It seems to have come off with just zero damage. Just gently bending it around. Only one side, just enough to get it off, and it should go back on with a hammer gently around. And if we look at the door, I think it's the right thing to do. It's not bad, but there is rust starting. It'll be more comfortable. I can clean this off with a wire brush. I can put down a primer, and then when we go to put the door back together, we know that it is 100% rust free, except for right inside, but you know what I mean. It will be good for another 50 years, at least. All wire brushed down, and I've whacked on the old rust converter. So I'll just let that eat and do what it's got to do. This is the easy side, obviously. There's not really hardly anything to do, obviously. This will probably get cut out, but hey, let's get rid of all the rust now. And then when we go to do our repairs, it'll actually help us a little bit. Oh, first order of business completed. Cut this awful thing out, which is just, oh, look, I half considered mucking around with it, but at the end of the day, if I just make a whole new piece in the exact same profile, it's going to be a lot better. I just have to make sure to make these little scallop things because they align with the plugs that are on the skin, and it's sort of, the plugs sort of overlap and actually provide a little bit of rigidity to the aluminium panel when it's on there. So cool, I will get rid of this and make a new one, fix the thing and make the weld, you know the deal. we've cut our strip, and I've just bent up a little bit of a test piece with the old bender, and yeah, I've checked it a few times. We're trying to replicate that, of course. So now that I've got all my measurements and my adding and everything works out okay, we'll bend it up and hopefully not mess it up too bad. There we go, we'll spot weld it up. The old one and the replacement. Let's cut this to size and whack her in. Now I'm just going to work on these ends while they're easier to get to. Got little patches that I'm bending up and just whacking on all of the corroded stuff. So hold please and let me fix this bit up and tack the bit in. Alright, so I've repaired all the bottom, got the new bit in place. I'm going to tack this up, weld that up, whack this piece in here as well. And just basically do all the fix up here. Alright, so the repair's got a little bit more significant than I thought. So I ended up having to actually cut out most of this here, mainly because it was rusted right in the corner here, and there's just no way to get there. So I ended up cutting out the bracket that was across here that was quite corroded. I've replaced that with a bit of RHS, which is exactly the same size, so it does exactly the same job and looks the part. So while that was out, I replaced that, welded that in, and now this piece here, I just had a closer look at it. It's quite a complicated sort of folded piece of section, so rather than mucking around, I've nipped the welds off. That was pretty much, well, it had naturally nipped itself off via rust, and I will basically just rebuild this a bit longer, cut it to size, blah 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 blah. We'll see how we go. Final patch ready. So she just goes in there, and I've repaired this down here, and she will just go in there. It's come out actually really well. Managed to find some box section that matches the profile of this, so she'll actually be a bit stronger than she was originally, and still look as per factory. Very cool. Repair's done. So I was going to leave the paint on, but I talked myself into it, so I've totally stripped it with the wire wheel. Just got to go down to Bunnings and grab some smaller wire wheels to get into corners and stuff, especially in the areas that I'm going to cover up. But I will, now I'm going to turn it over, prime it up, turn it back over, prime this side, and then we'll whack the aluminium back on. All primed and ready to go. I've whacked the blanket down, I've cleaned up the skins as best as I can. Let's see if we can get this back on without wrecking everything. Alright, there we go. Not a bad result actually. You know, there's a couple of pinholes in the aluminium here, and obviously the holes we spoke about. There is this crack here, but I'm inclined to leave it because this is such a straight panel. The minute I hit this with the welder, she's going to go banana. Anyway, I'll have a chat to Adolfo, see what he reckons. But all in all, really, really happy. It's actually not that scary to take the skins off, funnily enough. So, she's all ready to go. We'll have a look at it. But I reckon the next time you'll see this thing, she'll be in paint. Just, I'll tell you what though. I've spent at least 18 hours on this thing. It goes to show you. I mean, these body guys, when they, charge you an arm and a leg, it's there. It is there. It is all just fiddly work. I quite enjoy it, but if I was paying myself by the hour, it'd probably be better to buy a new one. But that's not as fun. Now let's go back in time a week where we got into some painting of a lot of panels.
After a long, laborious, bloody process, I finally got the front of the car ready to paint. So these are some second-hand guards that I fixed. This took ages to do, but anyway, look, it's come up not too bad. So this has had sanded basically back down to metal, repaired, panel beaded, and then I put some 2K primer filler on it, sanded that off, then I put some 1K primer on top. We'll give this a quick sand, and today we're going to plan to colour pretty much the two guards, the bonnet, doors, door tops, the courtesy skirt that you've seen Phil fix up, the modesty skirts will get done, and we'll see how they turn out. Big job. If you take this on yourself, be prepared for a lot of heartache. This is a massive, massive job. And I don't have a lot of room here, which is a problem. So what we plan to do is we're gonna spray that this week. Today. Let it dry probably 2 days. And then we'll bolt it onto the chassis just with a couple of bolts here and there, just so they don't fall off. Cover it up, then we'll put the tub here and we'll finish off the tub. The tub's pretty much panel beaded and filled, but it just needs some touching up. So I'll do the bottom. We've fitted the tub and we've got all the door margins right. And we'll spray all the little bits and pieces today. We'll get all them ready to go. They've all been panel beaded and fixed.
So here we are, big paint day. Adolfo's been busy just sort of getting his head around where to put everything and the procedure for actually painting this stuff and not messing it up. The tub will be its own separate thing, but yeah, I think we've got it figured out. It's a nice hot day, which is really good. And yeah, there's either going to be tears or cheers. Adulation. Yeah, nice word. There you go. there we have it. A successful day's painting. We're actually reasonably happy with the outcome. Obviously cold light of day and all of that will show us how well we've done, but we reckon we've done okay. The doors and stuff are all hiding back there now. But yeah, so it's actually a week later, and we're just doing a little bit more paint. Decided to gloss the doors rather than just a flat paint. We might end up glossing the whole car in the end, but the reason why I started this video, and I wanted to close it out with this video, is just as a bit of a sneak peek. We decided to give ourselves a little bit of motivation to see how it's all going. So that's all you get for now. But
and leave your comments. The indicators go on the top or the bottom. Big controversy.
There you go. There you go. But we're certainly motivated now. So next step, she should be going together. Very exciting. Catch you next time, guys.